I'm thinking about that, how am I going to listen to the testimony? Chrissy?
Okay, and can you tell one of those socks from the other by any sort of lettering or numbering as you sit there today?
There what appears to be different individuals' markings on the socks.
And those markings were not on there when you examined them on August 4th?
No.
Okay. Would you hold up, just pick either of those socks if you would, and just show the jury how you examine them visually?
Well, I can't pick up and show them. What I did was I laid them out flat, and I carefully looked them over. I could hold it up to you, to the jury like this.
Move this down in front of the jury. We'll put the pad of paper up on top of the cart.
I'm just wondering the quality of the view for everybody. All right, let's move it down there and let's make sure everybody gets a close look. All right, Mr. Yamauchi, would you, actually, Mr. Harmon, would you come and grab the packaging materials first?
Yes, it is.
All right, and Mr. Yamauchi, would you transfer the socks on the paper, please? All right, Mr. Yamauchi, why don't you remove the envelope from underneath the socks there so it lies flat. Mr. Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Yamauchi, would you just pick up whichever of those socks you feel and show the jury how you examine them?
Your Honor, this is all on August 4th, is that?
On August the 4th.
I laid them out flat, just like this, and I tried to take a good, careful look at it and note any discolorations for a phenolphthalein test. And again, that's that preliminary blood screening test I talked about earlier.
Initially, when you laid them out, did you notice any discolored areas?
On one of the socks, there was something towards the toe area that seemed like a discoloration. And on the other sock, I noticed something in the ankle area.
What did it look like?
It just looked like some light discoloration or difference in color between the rest of the sock.
At that point, did it look reddish in any way?
I really wouldn't say reddish. It just seemed like a very subtle discoloration.
And are those the only two areas on either of those socks that you noticed when you looked at them visually the first time?
Well, to tell you the truth, what I did was I noticed those areas, and then I did the phenolphthalein test. They came up positive. I asked my supervisor, I told him I got 2 positive spots on them. Should I do anything else with it? And he said, no, that's it. Close it up, and we'll decide what to do with it. I guess talk about it at administrative levels and stuff.
Now, were those 2 positive phenolphthalein results on the same sock or different socks?
One was on one sock and one was on the other.
Did you mark the socks in any way?
I may have initialed it, but on something like this, well, actually, I initialed the socks on the inside up here. But I didn't mark the areas that I phenolphthalein tested.
Okay, you said up here somewhere. Could you point to it so we can describe for the record what you've pointed to?
My initial CY.
Excuse me, counsel, could we get you all to move back a little bit? Thank you.
Right here, my initials CY.
And is there a tag in that sock that has the CY and you just showed the jury?
No, it's in a white pen.
Okay.
It's not real visible.
Did you mark the other, and may the record reflect that's inside the top of the sock, Your Honor?
Your Honor, may I request that we just designate the socks, they have other markings on them. whether
Yes, can we
do
tell which one of the two
A and
socks?
B or whatever, there are other,
The sock that you just referred to with the CY inside the top, does that have a, what is that down there towards the heel? There's some lettering down there?
There's a B, and then something that's I can't interpret.
Okay. Let's look to the, did you mark the other sock as well?
Well, I'm not exactly sure that those are my initials. One of the problems with this is when you've got a dark surface, we have this white pen that we write with, and it's often very difficult to get legible in certain instances. And to explain the CY here, usually I put my serial number after that, but in this case I just marked CY and tried to not to put as much markings or anything on those socks as possible, because I would want to leave all the areas available for further analysis.
excuse me, Your Honor, in terms of what he's just been pointing to in markings, I think that what he pointed to is a B is number 13, not a B. And he was then pointing to initials on both different socks. And what I would request is that we designate one sock A, one sock B, and then for the record, note what he just did. Otherwise, we won't be able to reconstruct this.
Mr. Harmon? Your record.
One sock has CY in it, the other one has something unintelligible in it.
All right, proceed.
Did you identify the two areas that you conducted the phenolphthalein tests in any way?
Well, in my notes, I have approximations on one to help my recollection later on, so I knew it was from the ankle. And on the other one, I noted somewhere in the toe area.
Okay, the sock, I'm sorry.
But I don't believe I marked the sock up. And I don't see anything on the sock in those particular areas.
Now, what I'd like you to do, Mr. Yamauchi, is look very carefully and perhaps hold up the sock that you have your clear initials in, and look at all those little holes in there, if you would. Both sides.
All right, any juror who needs to stand up, feel free to do so if you want to get a better look.
Were those holes in the socks when you examined them on August 4th?
No, they were not.
And when you conducted your examination on August 4th, did you notice any discoloration in any of those areas that have been cut out from that sock?
Well, like I indicated before, I marked that in an ankle area of one and on a toe area of another, there were discolorations.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we're concluded with this, what I'll have the witness do is move to each part of the jury box and display the sock for you.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness indicate which of these two socks he just testified about.
I think Mr. Harmon characterized it in his question. Counsel, would you step back, please? Thank you.
But if he was pointing at socks, and the record...
Counsel, if you listen to the question, it was directed to the one with his initials in it. Proceed.
Now, the sock with CY up inside, the one that has it clearly in there, How many cutout areas do you see in that sock?
I count 8.
Did you notice any signs of discoloration in any of those areas on the sock when you examined it on August 4th?
Well, there's one down towards the toe area where there's a slight discoloration of this particular sock.
And does that appear to be the sock that you conducted the phenolphthalein testing on in the toe area?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes, I think that's consistent with my notes. It would be some discoloration down towards the toe area.
And the other 7 areas where there are now holes in them, did you notice any discoloration in those areas? I'm talking about on August 4th.
No.
Okay, let's move on to the other sock, if you will, the one that does not have the clear GY inside.
CY.
CY. How many, were those cut areas in that sock on August 4th when you examined it?
No, they were not.
How many cut areas are there now?
I count 5.
Okay, did you notice any discoloration in any of the areas where the cuttings, or where there are cutout areas on the sock that we're focusing on when you examined it on August 4th?
I see a discoloration in the ankle area, and there's a cutting on the edge of that, and some initials.
Whose initials do you see there?
It appears to be D something D, DWD or DLD. I'm not sure.
Does that appear to be, or does that sock appear to be the sock where you did the positive phenolphthalein in the ankle area?
Well, that discoloration is consistent with my notes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Finish my questioning.
Are you done with the questions with that, with the sock?
With this item, yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Yamauchi, with Mr. Harmon's assistance, would you move the cart down to the end of the jury box there? All right, and if you would, just pick up each one of the socks and display it to the jury each side. All right, if the jurors in the back row, hold on just a second.
When he holds them up, that he indicates which of the designations he's holding up.
Yes. Mr. Yamauchi, which one are you, would you tell us which one you're holding up each time you pick it up? Mr. Yamauchi, would you tell us which sock you're handling, please?
This is the one with the initials that aren't very readable or aren't readable. And this is the one that I'm holding up at this time. And previous to that, I held up the other sock.
All right. All right, let's move down to
With
the
the initials, yes. I'm sorry.
near end of the jury box here. Mr. Harmon,
I'm sorry.
why don't you assist Mr. Yamauchi bring the card down to the bottom end here. No, go ahead and show this end of the jury box, please.
All right. This box. This has my initials in it. This one side. The other. And this is the one with the initials that are not clear. That's one side. And that's the other.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harmon?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think maybe we should put these away now. Can we do that?
Well, Mr. Scheck, do you anticipate cross-examining on that? Well, we won't get to that. Okay, go ahead and pack it back up.
Okay.
Counsel, Mr. Harmon, let's wind it up.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Yamauchi, I'm going to try to direct you to certain other items that you processed in this case. On August 16th, did you take some cuttings from 79, 81, and 86? Those are respectively Ronald Goldman's jeans, Ronald Goldman's shirt, and Nicole Brown's dress.
Yes.
Okay, and what was the purpose of taking those cuttings?
They were needed as cloth exemplars. In other words, as we use exemplars for bloods for individuals, clothing articles for the same purpose need exemplars for the trace analysis, and that's something that'll be talked about later, I believe.
And what did you do with regard to those items?
They were sent to the FBI.
On what date?
Oops. On the 16th,
Of which month?
August 16th, 1994.
I want to change now to July 29th, 1994. Did you come into possession of LAPD items 115, 116, and 117?
Yes.
Okay, and will you describe what you did with those items?
They were taken out of the bindle and observed. In other words, I just took my usual description notes where I draw somewhat of a little sketch of the swatches.
And then later on September 26, 1994, were those processed and are actually processed for shipping somewhere?
Yes, they were sent out on the 26th
Sent to where?
to the Department of Justice.
Okay, and let me ask you about LAPD items 303, 304, and 305. Did you come into possession of those items on September 6, 1994?
Item number 305. 303 and 304 I don't have listed for this particular date.
Okay, maybe we need to look at, with the court's permission, Exhibit 177E. Mr. Yamauchi, why don't you step down and look at 177E, if you will, and while it's up there, start out with 115, 116, and 117. Do you recognize 115, 116, and 117 as the items that were sent to DOJ on September 26, 1994?
Yes.
Okay, and how about 303, 304, and 305?
Anything about 303 and 304 at this point?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Oh, well,
You said, should I tell her for the record? She said she couldn't hear me.
she heard.
I objected to 303 and 304 at this point.
Proceed.
Do you recognize those items?
Yes.
And were 303 and 304 sent to DOJ on the date that's on the board, 9/26?
Let me check my records.
Sure.
Yes, they were.
And 305, when was that sent to DOJ? Is the board correct when it says 9/7/94?
Yes, the board is correct.
Okay. May I have marked as people's next in order, Exhibit 285, an additional SOC examination board? Take down.
All right, People's 285.
Mr. Yamauchi, while Mr. Fairtlow is getting that board up, were you present in the Los Angeles Police Department SID on February 16th, 1995, when Dr. Henry Lee conducted an examination on the socks that you've just shown to the jury that are marked as Exhibit 284 for identification?
Yes.
And what room was that examination conducted in?
It was in our conference room.
Okay, how many people were in that room, do you recall?
There were quite a few, about 9.
Okay, and where did you sit with respect to where the Dr. Lee conducted his examination?
Across the table.
Did you observe closely Dr. Lee's examination of those gloves?
Excuse me, examination of the gloves?
I'm sorry, the socks. You know Dr. Lee?
I know of his reputation, and I met him then.
And who was he working for when he conducted this examination?
I understand he's retained by the defense in this case.
Move to strike the word detained.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Was he the defense consultant in this case?
Yes.
Okay. How long did Dr. Lee perform his examination of those socks?
Well, it was over an hour.
Okay, well, would you step up to the board and use the pointer, if you will, and I'd like you to describe what's depicted in the photographs, starting, the board is entitled Henry Lee's Sock Examination. Would you point to the photo that says puts arm, parentheses, no lab coat, into bag to elbow? Did you see Dr. Lee do that?
Yes.
Okay, and what is he actually doing in that photograph?
He's reaching in to grab the sock,
And what kind of bag was it in?
or I don't know. That was a brown paper bag, I'm sorry. He was reaching in there, I don't know for what reason.
Where were the socks at the point that you see him reaching into that paper bag?
The socks were in an envelope, a white envelope.
And was that envelope in the bag at the time he's reaching into the bag that's shown in the photograph?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Now, the next photo shows Dr. Lee standing up, and the description under it is no lab coat or hairnet. Did Dr. Lee wear a lab coat at all during this?
No, he didn't.
Did he wear a hairnet?
No, he didn't.
Could you describe what's on the table in front of Dr. Lee, the equipment and the other items that are there in front of him?
Well, there's a microscope and paper for examining stuff on.
What kind of
Examination paper.
I'm sorry, what kind of microscope is that?
Well, it's a general stereoscope that used low magnification to look over and observe pieces of evidence.
Okay, let's just jump to the end of this for a second. It appears that in the photo on the left there where Dr. Lee's reaching in the bag, he's got gloves on, is that correct?
Yes, he does.
Did Dr. Lee ever change gloves during this entire 1-hour examination of both of those socks?
I didn't see him change his gloves.
Does that mean that he did not change his gloves?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, he didn't.
Okay. Are the socks shown in the photo where Dr. Lee is standing up, the two black items down in the lower left-hand corner?
Yes, that's the socks.
Okay, if you would, just try not to block the juror's view. The photo at the top right there, what is Dr. Lee doing in that photograph?
He has a scale in his hand. It looks like he's measuring something.
And when you say he's got a scale in his hand, is that a ruler?
Yeah, it's similar to a small ruler.
And what is he doing with that scale or ruler?
He's measuring something.
And is what he's measuring, is he touching the item with the ruler?
Well, it's hard to tell from this photo, but I've seen him when he was doing that, touch the ruler to the item, yes.
Okay, did you ever see him flame that ruler when he changed to the other sock?
No, that's ridiculous.
Did you ever see him bleach that ruler?
Motion to strike. Term ridiculous.
Did you ever see him bleach that ruler?
No,
Did you ever see him stratolink that ruler?
no.
You know what a stratolink is?
It's a UV decontamination process.
And what effect would that have on biological material?
Render, degrade DNA, break it down.
Okay. In the lower left-hand photo, there's actually a photo showing a ruler sitting on top of one of the socks. Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next photo in the middle shows Dr. Lee examining the other sock. Do you remember him examining both socks?
Yes.
Okay. And then the final photo shows Dr. Lee turning the socks inside out.
Yes.
Do you remember seeing him do that?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Yamauchi. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Do you need a, all right. I'm sorry, I got to,
Show the jury, the board a little bit better.
yes. I got a conflicting answer. Do you need a break now, or do you want to proceed?
I'd have to show them boards.
Okay,
Can't start.
okay. Well, I got a nod and then a shake. All right, thank you, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Fairtlow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session at this time. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Do not form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Stand in recess until 1:30. All right, Mr. Yamauchi, you may step down. 1:30.